Hi everyone. First, this is my new wig that I'm wearing, and I really like it. I'm probably going to try to find somebody who will put it on their heads so that I can kind of trim it up a little bit and style it the way that I saw it styled when I bought it. But yeah, this is the new one. It makes me feel like I've actually got a head of hair. It makes me feel like I'm wearing a hat, so it's comfortable, but it also makes me feel like I actually have hair, because I really don't. Alright, so the rally tonight was a shite show of lies and allegations that are absolutely uncorroborated with anything having to do with any sensical human being on the face of the planet. Even the justices that were appointed by asterisk 45, Herr Fuhrer, Lord Dampnut, the impeached lame duck, turned it down unanimously. Even Amy Coney Barrett, which is a surprise to me, really. But everything he said at the rally tonight was a complete lie. The fact is that every state in our union has certified the votes from the general election on November 3rd. Every single one of them. Georgia was counted once, maybe twice, or recounted once, maybe twice. It was counted once, and it went through one or two recounts, confirming the numbers that were there. They keep talking about legal versus illegal votes. They keep talking about dead voters. They keep talking about illegal voters. They keep talking about underage voters. In every single state, in every single precinct, in every single county, they had made sure they had seen and looked at the fact that the voters were legal. Now, always, every year, there are fraudulent votes. Every year. It's a given that there are going to be some fraudulent votes. In the last 30 years, when they really have been looking at this, 90% of those fraudulent votes have been from the right, and only 0.003 were deemed fraudulent votes. That's a small percentage. I can't even do the math because I don't math well. Please forgive me, but that's like 3 people out of 300,000. And we are talking about such a small amount. It has no effect at all on the presidential elections. What is going on right now, what we are seeing, what we are hearing from 11 of the senators and I think 4 representatives, is they are planning a seditious coup. It is sedition. It is against the Constitution for them to do what they are planning to do. What they are planning to do is to attempt to overturn the vote. They are planning to disenfranchise millions of voters by this. So let's go to election night. Many of us already knew that there was going to be a what everyone called a red wave. It was going to look as though on election night President Trump would be reelected. It was a given. The reason being is mail-in ballots were not to be counted until after the polls closed. And Democrats were statistically in greater favor of the mail-in ballots, mainly because they didn't want to go to the polling sites because of the social distancing, self-quarantine, the fact that the Trump supporters refused to wear masks, and they did not wish to put themselves into the position of possibly being infected by this pandemic. So the mail-in ballot made more sense to the Democrats. And in order to suppress the vote, the GOP pushed for going in and voting in person, knowing that their people would go in and vote in person, and hoping that the Democrats would believe their lie that there is such voter fraud in mail-in ballots. So because every state said that the mail-in ballots get counted after the in-person ballots, then it was a given that there was going to be a red wave. It was going to look as though on election night that Trump would win. But that's exactly what happened. But it isn't unconstitutional, because there still were ballots that were there that were not counted because they were mailed in and they were received by election day. Now, in some states, because of the COVID and because of the really stupid thing that Herr Fuhrer, Lord Dampnut, the impeached lame duck, did to try to suppress the vote when it comes to the post office, some states said if they receive those votes within a certain number of days, I believe Pennsylvania was the one that was 9 days, but was postmarked on or before voting day, November 3rd, then they would count those. If they were received after this particular amount of time, 6 or 9 days, then they were no longer counted. Now, the 1 out of 60 lawsuits that the Trump campaign actually won was in Pennsylvania, because I believe theirs was 9 days. The court determined that it was 6 days, so they cut off 3 days. So those votes, those ballots that were received after the 6th day were then discarded. That was the one lawsuit that they won. Only 1 out of 60. They lost 59 other lawsuits. Okay, again, a tangent. I'm sorry. So what we have now is the red wave on election day, and then as they're counting the votes after the polls closed, of course, when they count a certain amount, and this is where the dump thing comes in, when they count a certain amount of ballots, then they throw those results in. That's called a dump, and they kept doing that. They were counting. That's where Biden's lead grew, because the majority of the mail-in ballots were Democratic. The majority of the in-person ballots were GOP. So of course it looked like there was a red wave. That's why they called it the Red Mirage. It was not what was representative of actually what was voted for, because if these states had all agreed to start counting the ballots, say early morning before the polls opened, started even counting the mail-in ballots along with the in-person ballots, it would have been a completely different look on election day. But elections are never decided on election night. They're called by the media sometimes, but there are times when it is too close to call. They can't really call them until it is officially counted, until all of the counties are counted. And it takes days sometimes. So we have to understand that that's the thing. This election wasn't stolen. If it was, we would have more Democrats in the Senate and in the House, because many people who voted for Biden voted against the Democrats. And many people who voted against the Democrats, guess what? They voted against the Democrats who sided with Biden. Democrats who sided with Rashida Tlaib or Ro Khanna or Bernie Sanders, they were not even in the races. However, the leftist Democrats across the nation won their seats over their Republican opponents. And they also, many of them, primaried the centrist Democrat that was running against them during the primaries. So let's look at what was really happening right here. The most centrist Democratic candidate that we could have this year, Joe Biden, won both the popular and the electoral vote. However, the far left, the Bernie Sanders, Rashida Tlaib, Ro Khanna, AOC type Democrats won their seats, while the centrists, the ones who actually voted or supported that of the centrist presidential candidate, lost their seats. There's a correlation. Everybody wanted Trump out. 82 million people plus wanted Trump out, but they were not excited about the corporatist, centrist Democrats who are all about the money more than the people. The ones who won across the nation in both the national and state and local runs were the far left. They were the ones who were for the people. They were the ones who were the Justice Democrats, who are for Medicare for all, who are for the Green New Deal, who are for UBI, who they are the ones who won in those states. The other states that had the centrist Democrats, they lost their seats because nobody was excited for them. The only reason, and this is the takeaway that really needs to be considered in this, the only reason Joe Biden won this year is because everybody hated Trump. And that's it. He didn't win because he's good. He didn't win because he's wonderful. He didn't win because he's a hero. He won because he isn't Trump. Because when you look at the down ticket, it's a completely different story. The Republicans kicked out the centrist Democrats, but the far left Democrats kicked out everyone. Down ticket. If you look at every state and you see who is now in the Senate, who is now in the House of Representatives, who are in the state Senates, who are in the state House of Representatives, who are in the gubernatorial seats, all of those are far left. If there was a far left candidate, they won. Look at the stats. Look at the numbers. Look at the people. Look at who they are. Who won? The Democratic candidates who won and who were sworn in just yesterday, they are far left. They are not the centrist. They are not the Nancy Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer's, Kamala Harris's, Joe Biden's. They are the Bernie Sanders, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ro Khanna. That's who they are. So this ridiculous, they stole the election from me, it is such a farce that it doesn't even need to be really explained, because if it was indeed something that was stolen from the Republicans, then the Republicans wouldn't be, they wouldn't have taken some of the seats from the Democrats that they took this year. More seats would have been taken from the Democrats in the House of Representatives, and Mitch McConnell would not be even remotely possibly the Senate Majority Leader for next year. We have tomorrow to figure out who is going to be the Senate Majority Leader. Tomorrow in Georgia is going to tell us who will be the Senate Majority Leader. Is it going to be Mitch McConnell, or is it going to be Chuck Schumer? Frankly, I'm only slightly happier with Chuck Schumer being the Senate Majority Leader, because at least stuff will be put out there, and we won't have the obstructionist turtle man who is just evil as evil can be. Don't get me started on Mitch. I can't go there. I won't go there. I promise. I will not. I hate that man. He is possibly the most evil, vile human being in Washington, D.C. I actually have more positive feeling, let's put it that way, toward Herr Fuhrer, Lord Dampnut, the impeached lame duck, than I do Turtle Man Moscow Mitch. I cannot stand that man. I think he is just, he wrote the book that Satan read to become evil, and he's not even close. That's just how I feel. So, but I only slightly like Chuck Schumer better. He's a centrist corporate hack, is what he is. He's a shill. He doesn't want what Bernie wants, what AOC is fighting for, what Rashida Tlaib, Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna. He's not even remotely interested in anything. However, I think he's going to be a better Senate Majority Leader than Mitch McConnell. But the bar is so low, that isn't saying a whole lot. But tomorrow tells us, are we going to have the real evil, or are we going to have the lesser of the two evils? I frankly have resigned myself to hoping and praying for the lesser of two evils. I wish I lived in Georgia so that I can vote for Ossoff and Warnock. Both of them have grown on me a little bit more over the last couple weeks, but I've not been very supportive of either one because they are both Chuck Schumer, corporate centrist hack shills. So I can't say that I'm very excited for either one, but I'm more excited that Loeffler and Perdue could possibly be kicked out of the Senate. I'm really hoping that happens. So I'm gonna cut this short. It's almost a half hour that I've been chatting here about all of this. Can you tell I'm a little bit passionate about this subject? I really want, if you're watching this and you live in Georgia and you haven't voted yet, vote. And I want to encourage you. I get to do this because, well, I have no dog in this show. But I want to encourage you to vote for Ossoff and Warnock because they will move our country forward, for the simple fact that we will no longer have Moscow Mitch holding back very important documents and bills that need to be voted on. Mitch McConnell is an obstructionist. He even said during Obama's first year that he will work to ensure that nothing gets passed that Obama supports. He made sure that he would obstruct every single bill that the Democratic Party put forth. That's obstructionist. Now, I don't think Chuck Schumer is going to be much better, because I don't think he's going to put forth anything that is remotely a progressive left-wing ideal. And if he does, he's going to probably fight it with everything that he has. But the fact is that it will be better for him to be the Senate Majority Leader. And so if Warnock and Ossoff win tomorrow, that will be 50 senators for 50 Democratic senators and 50 Republican senators. However, because the vice president presides over the Senate and is the president pro tem, and is essentially, we can equate her to the Speaker of the House. It will be Kamala Harris as the vice president. That gives the majority to the Democrats. She is now the 51st vote. She's the tiebreaker. And that gives the majority to the Democrats. So understand what tomorrow really means. What tomorrow means is the Democratic Party will have the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate if Warnock and Ossoff win. So Ossoff has to beat Loeffler, Warnock has to beat Loeffler, and Ossoff has to beat Perdue tomorrow. So tomorrow is an incredibly important day for us. We on the left should be on pins and needles most of the day in order to watch this. So that's basically my take. I am so sorry it took so long. I'm so sorry that I just yammered. That's really all I have to say. If you've watched this far, thank you so much, and I will talk to you all later. Love you all. Bye.